Hey everyone, Rascally Rasmus here. Today we're doing another tips and tricks video for Core Keeper. I've been out sick again, unfortunately, which is why my voice sounds a little off, so apologies for that in advance. Before we start, I just want to thank you all so much for the love and support on my two previous Core Keeper videos. It's really appreciated. And yeah, I'm well into my Core Keeper 1.0 playthrough now. I started a fresh playthrough with my girlfriend, and so I decided now is a good time to do another tips and tricks video, as I've learned some new things and thought of some new things to share with you guys. For the first tip, I'd strongly recommend crafting a musical instrument. You can do this at the music workbench, which is crafted from the tin workbench, and you can craft any instrument. It can be very beneficial carrying the instruments around, such as the cello here. Because sometimes you'll encounter these locked and indestructible doors out in the wilds, and to open these you have to play the notes on the door in the correct sequence. And so I've usually just been going through them with trial and error, playing my way through them, finding out what the correct pattern is. But I found that akrim.elf, I'm probably butchering the name, on Steam has made this handy little guide for it, so I'm going to link that in the description below. I'm also going to show it here. I've tried to add some translations for Xbox controller keys. I don't know if it's the same for PlayStation and Nintendo Switch, but I've tried to add some translations for them too. Anyways, what you want to do here is, if you look on the door, the first note is on the second line, and as we can see on akrim.elf's picture here, that would be a T note. So you'd play a T first, then the next one is on the bottom line, which means it would be a Q, so we'd play a Q. Then the next one is on the third line, so that would be an E, and so on. Once we played all of them, the door will open, and there's typically some pretty good treasure in here, so this is very worthwhile doing when you find them. So for tip number 2, I'd strongly recommend doing loadouts. It's unfortunately a little more tricky on console because you can't set up keybinds to easily switch between them, but on PC I've set mine to F1, F2, F3, so I can easily just switch between my 3 setups. I have a spellcaster setup because I really wanted to play spellcaster, but I also have a mining setup because it's very helpful in the later biomes to have some extra mining damage and save some durability on your drill or pickaxe. I also have a melee setup because I just like having a melee setup. So what I didn't do on my first playthrough, but I have been doing on this playthrough, is that I have my staff on 1, my drill or pickaxe on 2, and my melee weapon on 3. So I put up a keybind, so I automatically switch to equipment setup 3 when I press 3, and as such equip my axe. 2, I will equip my drill and mining setup, and 1, I will equip my spellcaster setup. And so this is very easy to basically always have the correct setup on for what you're doing. And you can do this just by going to controls, and you obviously want to have the equipment slots here 1, 2, 3. But then you can also go to the loadouts, and I've set 1, 2, 3, 2. And so we don't want to replace them, or we do want to replace the keybind, but we don't want to replace here, we want to add. Okay, so for our third tip, I want to talk briefly about storage and crafting in Core Keeper. As you probably all know, you can craft directly from a chest as long as the crafting machine is adjacent to the chest. So I always have my main crafting station surrounding the chest. But in my previous playthrough, I would always say I needed to craft railway. I would always go over, see that I need 2 wood and 1 copper bar, and then go over and get the copper and wood so I can craft the rail. But I found that it's a lot easier to just pick up the crafting station and place it down and then craft directly from storage. And you can technically do this with all the crafting stations. You could technically also put them all in a chest right next to your materials, so you have everything very close together, but I still like having everything laid out in my base. Alternatively, you can solve all of this with mods if you're on PC, but do so at your own risk, of course. And so speaking of crafting, for our fourth tip, I just strongly recommend leveling up your crafting skill early on. It can be very beneficial having this, like essentially extending the durability of your tools or weapons, or armor if that's what you prefer. But I really like the tools and weapons, especially when you're using a drill that doesn't have that much durability. And so to level them up, the easiest way is to just craft whatever you can do as cheaply as possible. Typically a good thing could be stone bridges. They're typically very cheap. And it also has the added benefit that you'll always have a surplus of bridges. On PC, if you hold control, you'll craft 10 at a time. So you can craft very quickly and very quickly level up your crafting skill to a decent amount. So I just recommend doing that early on in your playthrough because it's very helpful. For our fifth tip, I'd recommend crafting a hoe. It's very useful obviously for farming, but it also works really well for removing stuff and harvesting crops, which I did not realize on my first playthrough, but I've painstakingly used a shovel and would dig up slime like so. And yeah, I'm a little embarrassed by that, but I don't know, maybe there's other people who's like me who did not realize. Anyways, with the hoe, you can just, boom, very quickly take all the slime, and this works for traps on the ground too. And if you have treasure to dig up, you know, like marked with an X on the map, that also works. So the hoe is just really, really good for removing slime and acid and all this stuff, and for the farming, for harvesting. So our sixth tip is that you can actually dig up these waypoints. It took me a little while to realize into my playthrough. If you have enough mining damage, you can just do it. But also early on, you can put down drills. And if you do that, then it will get dug up. There we go. And once it's dug up, you can essentially plop this down anywhere, and it'll take 10 minutes, and then it's ready to go. And so you can essentially start your game with a free teleport, because there's usually one by the core, and there's also one right by the first boss, slime, and they're typically very close together. So the slime one is very good to dig up and then place elsewhere, so you can have a free portal early on in the game. Technically, if you want, you can also make new worlds with the same character. Go there and dig up these. I personally have not been doing that because I kind of like playing in just one world, but if you want to and get a lot of these for free teleportation, a lot of portals around the map, then this is a very easy and cheap way to do it compared to crafting portals, which are pretty expensive to craft. For our seventh tip, I'd strongly recommend crafting automatic doors. If you haven't already, it's super nice not having to open the doors manually and being able to just run in and out without having to press or anything. And so to do this, it's very easy. You just put down a pressure plate on each side of the door, put down an electrical door in between the pressure plates, and there we go. The door is now automatic. If you don't want to see these pressure plates, you can also place floor tiles on top of them, and they will still work. So it's very easy to do. You craft both the electrical doors and the pressure plates at the electronic table, and yeah, strongly recommend doing that. For our eighth and final tip, I just want to point out that here at the furniture table, you can craft this magic mirror, which can be used to change your appearance, and you can craft this dresser, which can be used to essentially transmorph your character if you want to look a certain way but still want to wear the best armor. So if you pop down a mirror here, you can just interact with it and you can change your appearance, no problems. Same for the dresser. You can essentially just, if I want to look like the ranger armor, I can interact with the dresser and I can equip it right here. The downside of doing this is that I can no longer see when I switch my setup on anything but my weapon, if you've set it up the way I have. And so it's not necessarily that good to do, but sometimes you just want to look a certain way, and it's nice we have the option to do so. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. If you've enjoyed the video, please consider liking or subscribing, of course. But I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for all the love and support on my previous 2 Core Keeper videos. I really appreciate it. Have a very nice day, everybody. Until next time.